And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasel. Today we're taking a look at Scapegoat. Scapegoat is a social deduction style game from Indie Boards and Cards, who has quite a few of these games. In fact, one of the biggest ones on the market, Resistance, is from them. But I gotta say, when I saw Scapegoat, and it says here, someone's goat to take the fall, I immediately was turned off. The artwork here did not do anything for me. That theming, and I have yet another social deduction game. You know, it's, I don't know, just wasn't very excited about it. But, you know, it was on the schedule, so I gave it a play. Let's take a look and see how it works. In Scapegoat, you can play 3 to 6 players, and depending on which players you're playing, you're going to take a set of cards. So for example, if I'm playing with 4 players, then you're playing with yellow, red, green, and blue. Each player is going to take one of these boards here, which tells you what you do on your turn. You are also going to have a pile of cards out here, and you're going to build a deck of cards for the number of players. So this says 3 plus 3 plus. There might be ones that say exactly a number, and you're going to shuffle these together, and this is going to make the deck. One card is going to be placed face up in front of each of these 4 cards here: Prepare, Spy, Trade, and Stash. 3 cards will be placed face down next to Stash, and the remainder of the cards will be dealt evenly to each person. In a 4-player game, each person is going to get 2 cards. The cards correspond to the players. Sometimes a card will be 2 different players, and there are also neutral, innocent parties in the game. The number of cards, again, will change based on the number of players. At the beginning of the game, you're going to determine who the scapegoat is. That's done by rolling 2 dice. So here you see there's a 7 and an 8. Each player is going to secretly look at the back of their card, which will show the other 3 players' colors. And you just look here, 7 and 8. So the blue player here, it says that the scapegoat is yellow. Over here, it also tells this person that scapegoat's yellow. Over here, it also says yellow. The yellow player, it tells him that the scapegoat is green. But since 3 of the players say it's yellow, yellow is the scapegoat. But yellow doesn't know that. Yellow thinks that the scapegoat is green. That's all you need to dice for. Once that starts, players are going to take turns. Whoever, you put out these tokens here randomly at the beginning. Whoever's here goes first. You have to go to a different location on your turn than where you're at. You then do the action of that location. So the actions are: look at someone else's hand, simultaneously trade a card with someone else, pick one of these cards from the stash, add it to your hand, and then put a card back. Can be the same card. And then prepare and go to the cops. I'll talk about those in a bit. After you take the action, you then take a card from your hand and put it at the spot you're going to. Now, if you have your own color in your hand, you must put that color down. Otherwise, you can put down any card you want. Then you pick up the card that's there into your hand. Now, there's a prepare action. When you go here, you take one of these prepare tokens. When the second prepare token is taken, this card is flipped over. From now on, when someone goes there, if they don't have a prepared token, they can take a prepared token from somebody else. If they do have a prepared token, then a frame is initiated. When a frame is initiated, each player is going to play a card from their hand face down. And we reveal those cards. If all the cards but one are the same, which didn't happen in this case, then that person is framed. If that person is the scapegoat, everyone wins except the scapegoat. If that person's not the scapegoat, then the scapegoat wins. If all the cards aren't the same, which is what happens in this situation, then you pick all the cards back up, people take them back in their hand, and the game keeps going. That's how you beat the scapegoat. Now, the scapegoat at any point, if you figure out you are the scapegoat, you can simply go here, go to the cops, boom, game's over. And whoever is the scapegoat wins, which if it's you, is great. Otherwise, you gave the game to somebody else. That's basically the game. Like I said, the number of colors on the back here for each player is going to change. There's a different grid per number of players. In a 3-player game, I only have 2 other colors on this. And these will also change over it. But the game will end. The game could end really quickly as soon as someone goes to the cops have arrived, or when the frame happens. As I said, I'm not a fan of this art. I'm not a fan of the theme. I'm not a fan of the puns. I don't think again, it just feels like the word scapegoat was used. The components are okay. The card quality's fine. These tokens are fine. It is nice that they have all these different cards here. Some people might say, but you could memorize this grid. Whatever. You would have to memorize 4 people's grids, which is a seemingly impossible task. And if you could do that, then I don't want to play this game with you anyway. But there's not a lot of components in here. It's fine, but I think the game doesn't look great on the table. Okay, Scapegoat. I think there are 2 problems with Scapegoat. One is how it looks. The game just does not look like you should take it seriously, and you could argue that that's a good thing. But this cartoony artwork, that's not really, in my opinion, that great of artwork. It's okay. The whole game just feels almost like a prototype when you put it out on the table. I think that's going to not appeal to some people. And I mean, myself and so far everyone I showed it to has been that way. The other problem with the game is I think this is a really clever game. So this is a positive and negative. So John Penny, the designer of this, is really good at designing a game in a small space. Land, Air, and Sea is his game, which is just a small card game, which is a nice back and forth 2-player game, which has a pretty big game for a small space. This does the same thing. Because the way I found, and this is the problem with Scapegoat, is every time I teach this game, someone at the table always goes, huh? How are we supposed to know what to do? And the fact is the nuance here is pretty strong. You have to watch what everyone's doing. You're sitting there so Z takes a card, and I'm like, well, Z just picked a red card. That's my card. Am I the scapegoat? I might be the scapegoat. So if I'm the scapegoat, I'll go to the cops have arrived. But maybe Z wanted to take that action. But he just put out an orange card. My thing says the orange card is the person who's the scapegoat. But maybe I'm supposed to take that card so that we can now all accuse him. Because basically when you accuse someone in this game, everybody has to have a card of that color. So the way the game works is the scapegoat's trying to figure out who they are by watching what everyone does. Everyone else is trying to manipulate it so everybody has a card of that person's color in their hand. The game has a very good rule that if you have your own color, you have to give it up, so you can't stash them here, although you can put them in the stash. But so everyone's trying to get the card of that color, and there's always, as far as I can tell, there's one more card than the number of players. So if you're playing a 5-player game, there's 5 cards of orange out there. And so the other 4 players, they can each get one, and there could be one that's not with anybody. So everybody's watching this. My concern is this is going to fly over some people's heads. Some people are going to go, I just don't get the game. Or it's going to take a while to get the game. It's the kind of game that I think you can't play once and go, oh. Or at the very end of the game you go, oh. And then you learn. But it's going to take multiple games of this. And that's both good and bad. Good because it's different, but bad because it's the kind of game where you could sit at a table of people who know this game and really feel out of your element. And I think some people are going to just pass on by because of that. But if you take that out, it really is a clever game. And what this game does is it brings the paranoia that a lot of these games have. So let's take a look at Werewolf or the Resistance. In Werewolf and the Resistance, there's bad players in each one. The werewolves and Resistance, there's people working for the corporation. In those games, you have this neurosis that everyone's after you because it's true. People are after you. They're coming to get you, and you got to figure out how to stop that. You want to figure out, you're just constantly nervous and worried that your secret is going to be discovered. What Scapegoat does is it gives that feeling to everybody. I sit there, I draw, and I go, Susan is the scapegoat, I think. But is it me? That person won't meet my eyes. Do they think I'm the scapegoat? Am I the scapegoat? I find that to be deliciously interesting, to sit there and wonder who is the bad guy. And that, coupled with the fact that this is a really fast game. It says 30 minutes in a box. No way will this game take 30 minutes. I mean, the game could literally take 1 minute. If you think you're the scapegoat, you could end the game at any point. But more than likely you got to do the frame and set things up. So we'll go around the table a few times. But if I'm framing Bob and then it's Bob's turn and I sit there and like, okay, Bob, don't go to the cops, have a ride. You know, don't call the cops. Come on. Okay, good. He passed it. All right, we got him. I've seen this game won in every way. I've seen the scapegoat, the frame happen, and it was the wrong person. I've seen the frame happen and we catch the scapegoat, and I've seen the scapegoat win by calling the cops, and I've seen the scapegoat, someone who wasn't the scapegoat, call the cops and lose the game for everybody else because they were too paranoid. So it's an interesting game. So if you can get past this cover and theme, which I really think is a detriment to the game, and if you can get past it's a bit of a wonky learning curve because it's not like other social deduction games, you're going to find something that's clever and interesting and a neat little game to pull out and play. So that's Scapegoat. I'm Tom Vasel. We'll see you next time. Dice Tower Judgment approved.